whatukura te tuhi Māori kura tēnā kōrua. And that's the formalities that are done with. First and foremost, how do you feel? How do you both feel being the first Māori Ward candidates on the Palmerston North City Council?
Pretty excited, very excited in fact, and we think that this is something that is very special, 2022, and with the establishment of Māori wards throughout the nation, I think change is afoot, but in a good way that will support and enhance our communities.
And you, Roly, same question?
Yeah, absolutely. Tautoko, what Debi's saying too. And I guess the grounding for me particularly will be to keep reminding myself of those that came before us. And that's what's going to carry us through.
Tell us about the skills, the knowledge and experiences that you both will take to the City Council over the next 3 years.
In Māori, there's a saying, e harama te kumara I kōrero mai mō tōna reka. And so you pose quite a difficult question there, because it is very difficult for us to sort of say what we've done and where we've come from without sounding whakahihi, boastful. But speaking for myself, I've had 42 years in education. I've been a secondary and a primary school principal. I was principal at Te Kurakaupapa Māori on Manawatu, which was one of the first six piloted kura throughout the country. And my own children grew up in Kohanga Reo in Kurakaupapa Māori, and nice to see Penny here. And she knows that journey that we had, which was really tough in those days before Learning Media Centre came about. I also lived in Auckland for a while and was trained as a teacher of the deaf, and worked at Kelston School for Deaf, and then did some time at St Dominic's. So lovely to see the signing too. And then went into Māori education with the establishment of the kura, but I have taught in mainstream, primary, secondary school, and mainstream settings as well. And have just thoroughly enjoyed my time there in that education. But it does give you an idea when you're in that role as a teacher, as a principal, of the diversity within our community and the needs of whānau and the challenges that they face too. And with that understanding, and also knowing the aspirations of parents, I've never come across a parent that doesn't want better for their children than what they had. So I do think that I hopefully bring that skill set, and I'm proud to have been born and raised here in Palmerston North and raised my family here as well. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe te. Roly?
So I guess for me, it has been a privilege to learn what I've learned to date. The largest part of my career has been in property and in real estate, and then I was very honoured and fortunate enough to be part of the Rangitānei Manawatu Investment Trust, which is our post-settlement corporate entity responsible mainly for commercial development around the city. And our first big project was the Quest Hotel on Fitzgerald Avenue. Going through that post-settlement process, we quickly realised that we didn't have all the expertise and the skills to become property developers, not that we wanted to. So we recognised the need to go and get those skills and bring them into what we were trying to achieve for the iwi, but also for the wider community. 16 or so years in real estate in the Manawatu in Foxton gave me a good understanding of being able to speak to people, to listen to people. I do like listening to people. Some people in the audience might be thinking about that differently. But one of the other proud roles that I'm very proud to have is to be involved with Te Tihi o Ruahine Whānau Order Alliance, with a particular kaupapa around housing. So I do have an eye for the housing portfolio at the council, and reading the pre-election report produced by the Chief Executive. There's obviously the social housing, transitional housing aspect. It talks about affordability, One of the questions we in the Māori community have particularly is, what does affordability mean? Whose definition of affordable makes it affordable? In that report it talks about a median sale price of $660,000. So straight away when you do the numbers, then your household needs to be earning probably in excess of $100,000 a year income. So it's affordable for those people who are earning more than $90,000. So that's just a bit of a spin there. But through Te Tihi o Ruahine, we're unpacking a pathway to home ownership for whānau. And you might have seen the first 5 houses that we completed just along Botanical Road there. Plans are afoot to do the next 5 in the Awapuni suburb, and then another 15 along Botanical Road as well. So being privileged and honoured to work in all those different sectors, I was able to pick up the skills from those around me, and I'll be bringing those, with a lot of my own whānau upbringing as well, into the council table. Some of the work I did at schools was helping schools, understand what cultural responsive practice was, and one of the beautiful things that came out of that for me was I had to, and I wanted to give descriptions to my upbringing. So for example, Mum and Dad brought us all up on Fairs Road in Milson in our younger years. I didn't realise at the time that inside the letterbox on our home we were living as Māori, the way we Māori live. Yet every morning when I went to school, as soon as I stepped onto the footpath, I was actually stepping into a different world that had a different world view. And so it's been an honour and a privilege again for me to grow up inside both of those worlds. And that's probably one of the key elements to my being that I look forward to taking into the council chamber. Kia ora.
Tēnā kōrua. Lovely. Before I open up to the floor, just one more question. What are the biggest concerns for Māori? What do you think are the biggest concerns for Māori here in Palmerston North?
I think Roly touched on it in terms of and it's not unique to Māori, but if I'm referring to Māori, it's about housing, having somewhere warm, safe, and theirs to call home, and being able to pay the bills, buy the groceries, get the kids what they need. I think that's a really very, very much a real issue. The other thing I think of is taking care of our aged population. Some people we found with COVID. I think the Māori Health Authority's response was really good, but we noticed that there were many who were disconnected or feeling lonely, and I think that that's important that we keep everyone connected within our community. But housing certainly is a big one, and opportunities for people to remain connected is important too.
Yes, and just to add to that, and it was the iwi Māori response through the COVID operations that the whole city got to see, and we might all recognise or pay tribute to how fast the Māori community came together and how quickly they were able to get resource out into those communities in need. So the question, Tim, is what are the big things facing our Māori population? The problems are not unique to Māori, but they're a greater problem for Māori when equity isn't the same. So being able to find a pathway to build that equity and to give back to the Māori population the opportunities for them to determine their own lives and their own pathway forwards. It's navigating the systems that has been a big challenge for Māori populations for many decades, and it still continues today. And it's unfortunate that so many of our whānau are reliant on those systems. But there's a lot of work to do, and one of the stepping stones for Debi and I is to get our feet under the table in the council chambers and have a crack.
Tēnā wātu kōrua. I'd like to now open up to the floor if anybody would like to pose any questions to our Māori candidates. This is the time to do so. Don't all jump at once, please. He pātai ate, tēnā koe koe. Oh, sorry. So there's been a spurt of incidences which has involved some youth predominantly from what I've seen of footage on social media, rangatahi Māori involved. And I think the question is how would you respond to that, Nera?
Tēnā koe whaia, Winifred. One of the things that I want to say is this isn't new for Palmerston North. In the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, this has happened before. But one of the things I think we need to do is to say, you know, we need to look at how we're responding. There's got to be a plethora of people around there helping. What's happening with the different services that are working with those young people. And we know that people are in challenging times. That's no excuse for anyone to hurt anyone else and to extend their rights over someone else's. So in the first instance, my aroha is for those who are the victims. Secondly, I think we've got to sit down and say, this isn't you. So what is happening that we're not addressing? And let's look at everyone, because it is a community issue. It is a community issue. It's all of our responsibility to provide services that really, and it's not just the young people, but it's the families that require support, I would say, as well. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about the services available, because I'm sure there are many out there. But we just need to coordinate it and identify a process and work with that, because it isn't new.
Roly, your response?
Don't want to throw too much petrol on that fire, but the only thing I will add is that it's not a Māori problem. You know, if you go back and have a look at that footage, it wasn't just Māori young people that were causing that disturbance. Kia ora.
Some of the kōrero that did come out on social media is that these kids are a reflection of their parents and the home in which they grow up. And e whakai ana kōrero ki tērā kōrero, do you agree with that?
I think that's too simplistic to say something like that, and we don't know the stresses and strains that people are experiencing at home, but there's a lot of families that are feeling probably very vulnerable, that within their own homes they need support as well. So yeah, it is a big issue, but I wouldn't want to put it on just the students or children or young people or even their families. I think there's some systemic issues that underline all that.
Yeah. Right, any more questions from the floor? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Just leading from the previous question, like in New Zealand, we understand that we have got one of the highest rates of mental health and suicide rates in the whole of OECD, and especially considering our youth population, it's considering mental health issues. Like, and considering that Maori probably has got the worst mental health issues among any other ethnicity in New Zealand, what do you guys think that we need to do differently to tackle our mental health issues, especially considering our young people? Thank you.
First of all, mental health issues in our community are something that, you know, we all need to take care of and heed of. And the services, as we know, we watch TV every night, we know that they're stretched to capacity. But within our own community, we have people who care, we have people with skills, and I just think we might need to be tapping on our own shoulders to step up and assist and not necessarily rely on the existing structures. We have to be a bit more innovative about how we get that support out to people. Like, for example, if someone should have an incident or so forth, I don't think sending the police there to take them to the watch house for the night is an appropriate response. I think they need expert intervention and support then and there 24/7. So I do think that we need to perhaps meet with those who are doing a fantastic job, are already doing that job. And I know there's some people in this room here who have been servicing and supporting people of all ages who are experiencing mental health difficulties, and to get them that support and for their families as well. But the system we have currently isn't working and isn't matching that.
Anything to add to that, Roly?
Yeah, The only thing I'd like to add to that is, I guess the whole mental health kaupapa and kōrero and story has become more prevalent in our community discussions, newspapers, media and the like, over the last 10 to 15 years at least. I think we've seen a huge amount of effort from community like-minded people who are stepping forward into that space. What's letting them down, in my opinion, is that the resource and the support that the Mike Kings of New Zealand have been screaming out for, John Curran's been screaming out for the same thing. The numbers have grown for those wanting to support mental health. It's a cross-community issue and it needs to be supported by the system. And if there's one thing that Debi and I can give a voice to, it's about knocking on the doors of those people that are holding the pūtea and the checkbooks, and let's get it out to the people who are doing the mahi.
Tēnā kōrua. Yes, we have another question down the back there. Oh, yes, sorry, man with the, yes, black hat.
Tēnā kōrua, e tika ana te kōrero i tini whetu rangatāne ki te rangi, i tini whetu ngā tangata ki te whenua. Tēnei wā tokorua ngā whetu kei rongo i te kaunihira o te papa i oia. The saying is correct, rangatāne have many stars in the heaven, many people on earth, and now 2 stars on the City Council. Hoi anō, ka mihi ka kōkoa, tēnā kōrua. Congratulations. Pēnei taku pātai, i te nuinga o ngā wā, e wānanga ana kaurua, i a wiki, i a marama, i a tau, kei roto i rangatāne whānui. Tika ana. Pēhe o whakaro, ki te whakatīnana i ngā kaupapa o rātau e noho papa i oia, a hua mā tā waka kei waho o rangatāne. So my question is most of the time you'll be meeting within rangatāne and will be familiar with the kaupapa there. So how is it that you intend to give body to the voices of those who are mā tā waka from outside the district and take those kaupapa forward to the council? Kia ora.
Tēnā koe te rangatira. For me, sorry, perhaps for us, and give me a slap if I've got this wrong, Debi, but one of the unique, beautiful aspects of our Māori community is that we already know how to get together as a whānau and as a people. So wherever we go in our own whānau journeys, whether it be sports, whānau hui or community events, the word travels really, really quickly around the Māori community. So I think your question, te rangatira, to both of us is how are we going to connect with our Ngāti Porou whānau, our Ngai Tahu whānau, our Whanganui whānau. And what's the challenge in front of us now is finding out where all of our whānau are. I don't think that you're going to find ourselves and having an office somewhere and getting people to come in into our agendas and our calendars and that sort of stuff. It's up to Debi and I to find out where everything's happening on the ground out in the community and in the hapori. Yes, for rangitane, but we also already connect with a lot of other kaupapa from other iwi around the whole city. And so, you know, I just love going to the Albert Street markets on a Saturday to catch up with the whānau because, you know, and when I say whānau, I'm talking about people that I'm not even related to, you know, just catching up with them. So it's a big job, but it's an honourable job for Debi and I to have, and it's a good challenge to place to us tonight. And keep us honest, keep us on board, you know, yell out to us or ring us up or send us an email. Come on, Roly, haven't seen you for whatever. Yeah, that's what we're here for. So, yeah, we'll do our best for you. We can guarantee that.
Ai, tēnā koe te mātua, kei te tautoko au ngā kōrero o te tungane nei. We've already had a discussion and said, you know, that we need to go out, and I think we're pretty active anyway in terms of like Māori like going to hui, as Roly has mentioned, and support kaupapa Māori as well, and that's where our people are. And so we will be going to places and putting up on our social media or our platform that we will be at possibly St Michael's for this time if someone would like to have a cup of tea with us, or we're at one of the kohanga reo, or going to the kura, or going to a workplace, or at the market. You know, we know where our people meet, and we look forward to that. I think we're quite cognizant too of that, because I know I had a father who was just a wonderful man, but he used to remind Mum that she was here and he came from somewhere else, and he'd say, oh, I know you're going to your rangitane hui, but I'm off to my taura here hui, which was a nice way of saying he's going to see his cousins and other people, and Roly too with his mother. We're cognizant of the fact that we have many relationships that we enjoy, foster and celebrate. And we will be looking forward to touching base. And if ever you want us or need us, then please get in touch with us, because we'll be there. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Kia ora. That's all the time we have for questions out there on the floor. We're pretty much coming up to the conclusion of this first part. But lastly, to you both, what is it that you two would like to achieve over the next 3 years on council?
I would like to see that we have, in 3 years' time, I'd like to look back to tonight, Tima, with you, and say, actually, we did advance kaupapa Māori for our community. We did tautoko all the other iwi that live amongst us, who are now third and fourth generations of people from Tainui or from Kaikohe, from wherever they're from, that we did make a difference by finding some more resource to support our mental health workers, that we did look forward to in supporting the new regime in the Māori Health Authority and those sorts of things, that we did give a real description of a treaty partnership. Bearing in mind also that to us Māori, we already know that our upbringing of manaakitanga and kaitiakitanga, all of those values that are intrinsic and so important in Te Ao Māori existed way before the treaty. You know? And so that whole treaty conversation, you know, we want to make it an easy conversation for our treaty partners to be part of. One of the ways we can do that is to support the understanding of that treaty conversation, that what's good for Māori is actually good for the entire population, to put it another way. So, kia ora.
Hi, Jones, you haven't left much for me to say, have you? But because I support everything that Roly has said here, I think that I too would like to look back in 3 years' time and say that everyone in our community have felt that we have added value, that we have advanced kaupapa Māori, that people aren't scared of things Māori, that they are supportive and understand the fact that we are Te Tiriti o Waitangi partners, and that that partnership brings, as I mentioned earlier, mutual benefits for everyone in our community, and that we're enjoying and celebrating each other and supporting people that need our help the most. Yes, I'd hope that people would say that the two of us have, and Māori would say kua tūtuki pai, that would be our aspiration, that we have fulfilled our role admirably, but it will be the people who will let us know if we have or we haven't, and will hold us accountable for that. But it's a positive challenge, and it's one we're ready for. Kia ora.
Tēnā kōrua. Homai te piki pake pake. A big round of applause, please. Debi, Marshall-Lobb and Roly Fitzgerald.